Welcome, today's story is full of drama. Like and subscribe to stay updated. Let's get started.
I walked wearily up to the front door of the small apartment I was renting. The door needed a fresh coat of paint, so did the rest of the place, but it was all I could afford. Balancing a box of groceries between my left arm and the doorframe, I unlocked the door with my right hand. Once inside, I carried the box to the tiny kitchen and set it down on the counter. The contents were modest. A few cans of pork and beans, a pack of hot dogs, some potato chips, and a large bottle of Jack Daniels. I tossed the hot dogs into the fridge, grabbed a glass, filled it with ice, and poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon. Walking over to my recliner, one of the few pieces of furniture I'd salvaged from my previous life, I sank into it with a sigh. Taking a sip of bourbon, I reached over to flip on my old CD player. Willie Nelson's familiar voice filled the room. "Hello, Walls. How things go for you today? Don't you miss her since she up and walked away?" I took a deeper sip of the amber liquid and let out another sigh. "Yep, Walls, 'll keep you company," I muttered. For a moment, I thought about the walls around me. Walls. The name hit me like a slap. That was the bastard's name. The man who ruined my marriage. Marcus Vance. A slimy, scheming lawyer. As much as I despised him, I couldn't deny his cunning. He was a scumbag, but a sharp one. Taking another sip, my mind drifted back to how my life had unraveled to this point. I had met Emily during my last year of grad school. She was finishing her final semester of pre-law. The moment I saw her, I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. I was working my part-time job at a local coffee shop, cramming for finals between serving customers, when she walked in with 2 of her friends. She was stunning, slim, with sparkling green eyes and dark brown hair. She looked like a younger version of Anne Hathaway. It was a warm spring day, and she wore shorts and a halter top that showcased her perfect figure and tan legs. My chest tightened just looking at her. A vision of effortless beauty gliding toward me. She slid gracefully into a seat at the counter, her friends flanking her, all laughing and chatting. I waited patiently to take their order, catching snippets of their animated conversation. They were giggling about something involving a Professor Harris. Apparently, someone had found Harris tied up naked in the quad with his anatomy painted bright yellow and a sign around his neck that said "Wife Stealer." Her friends were laughing, saying things like, "Well, he did have a nice tool. I bet Rachel loved that trouser snake." The image of beauty that had caught my eye never smiled. She interrupted the other girls' discussion and said, "How can you laugh about this? There are at least 3 people who have had their lives turned upside down because of what Harris did. I feel so bad for the husband and little girl. They're innocent in this whole thing." Her 2 friends sobered up for a moment. The girl to Emily's right side said in a serious tone, "You're right, Emily. It is terrible. But get a sense of humor, girl. What happened to Harris was damned funny. I never thought Professor Beale had it in him to take such drastic actions." With that, the 2 girls started laughing again. Okay, just take your comedic melodrama somewhere else. I have to study." With that, Emily opened her textbook and started ignoring her 2 friends. Seconds later, she was left alone at the counter. She finally glanced up and saw me standing there. She smiled and said, "I'd like a coffee with cream, please." My heart fluttered. When she smiled, the whole diner glowed in a warm light from her radiant presence. I got the coffee and set it down. "What are you studying?" I asked, just to try to make some conversation with this glorious woman. "Biochemistry 101. In pre-law, and this stuff is tough going for my poor brain. But DNA is big time in law today." She smiled at me. I had to take it because I needed 4 more hours of a non-law related class, and this was the only class I could get into. I was elated. I was a biochem major. I hesitated for a moment and then, gathering my courage, responded, "What luck! You're in the presence of the next world-renowned expert in biochem. It is my major. Can I be of help to you?" She hesitated for a second and replied with that wonderful smile, "I'll take all the help I can get. Can you explain this whole chapter to me in English?" My heart was beating so hard I thought for sure she would hear it on the other side of the counter. "I get off in half an hour. What say we move to a table then, and I will try to explain things to you." She nodded, and, looking around, she moved to a table by the diner's front window. As I went about my job and cleaned the back of the counter, I occasionally looked up and saw her looking at me. We would smile and exchange nods. 30 minutes later, I slid into the chair across from her and said, "At your service, miss?" She held out her hand and said, "Emily Turner. Nice to meet you, Mr. Nathan Carter. Soon to be Dr. Carter, the world's expert on biochem," I said as I shook her offered hand. For the next 2 hours, I did my best to explain the textbook material to her. She would listen and question, and then I would see a light bulb go on in her mind, and she would laugh and exclaim, "I've got it. Oh, you wonderful man. You make this stuff seem so easy. Where have you been all my life?" We agreed to meet the next night for another tutoring session. By the end of the week, I gathered my courage and asked her out on a date. She agreed. We spent a lot of time talking, and I asked her about what I had overheard of her conversation with her girlfriends that first night. We had been kissing in the front seat of my Toyota Camry when I told her I was impressed by her clear distaste for cheating on a life partner. Emily looked into my eyes and, with utmost sincerity, stated, "When two people take vows to forsake all others, I believe that is a lifetime contract. There is no circumstance where cheating on your partner is warranted nor acceptable. I would die rather than cheat on my spouse." She went on, "Cheating leads to the destruction of too many innocent lives. My own mother and father almost split up because she caught him cheating on her. I was clinically depressed for over a year because of the home situation. It was only after much counseling that my parents were able to repair their relationship, and I was able to fully recover my mental health. I was one of the innocents, and I know what pain they will suffer. Such pain is not acceptable in my mind." I told her I agreed completely with her view of marriage and that I hoped my life partner would cherish my love and honor our vows just as Emily wished to do. We held hands and explored our feelings for each other as we kissed. Emily leaned into me and whispered, "I promise to never cheat on you, my dearest Nathan, by the end of the month." We slept together at my modest little off-campus apartment. When we arrived, we entered, and as I turned, she was standing right behind me. I bumped into her, causing her to lose her balance. I grabbed her before she fell. She looked into my eyes, and putting her arms around my neck, she kissed me for what seemed like hours. Our tongues played together as they explored each other's mouths. We collapsed onto my bed, our movements frantic as we helped each other out of our clothes. Lying together, I marveled at her beauty, every detail of her captivating me completely. Her touch was electric, her warmth enveloping me in a way that felt both comforting and exhilarating. I traced my hand gently along her back, my fingers brushing her skin with care. She responded with soft laughter and a smile that lit up her face. Her affection left me in awe, each shared moment deepening the connection between us. As she leaned closer, her whispered words carried a tender plea, and I listened intently, responding with care and gentleness, ensuring her comfort and trust were at the center of every moment we shared. Our closeness deepened as we matched each other's rhythm, sharing an experience of mutual trust and emotional intensity. Afterward, we lay together, holding each other tightly, physically and emotionally spent. That night marked a turning point in our relationship. Shortly after, she moved in with me, and we began planning our wedding, which took place after graduation. It was a small, meaningful ceremony with only our immediate families present. Our bond grew stronger as we supported each other daily, navigating life together with love and understanding. Even during moments of difficulty, we found ways to stay connected and nurture our relationship, building a foundation of mutual respect and care. We shared an intimate connection every night during our first week together, strengthening our bond and deepening our relationship. We were married in November and moved to Ridgeport, Virginia, as I had landed a job at the National Institute of Biomedical Research in a section dealing with biohazards. Emily became pregnant in the first year of our marriage, and she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. We named him Jacob after my father. She stayed home to nurse and raise him until he was 3. At that point, we placed him in daycare. Emily had never completed her education for a law degree, but she was still interested in the law. She got a job as a paralegal at Richards, Denton and Carter LLP, a law firm in Brookdale. She reported to a senior attorney named Marcus Vance. He was senior in time at the law firm, but he was only 1 year older than Emily and me. Emily was actually better at contracts than Vance. He soon had her preparing the more complex contracts as he realized she was a natural in contract law. He placed more and more responsibility on her, and she responded with exceptional work. He would occasionally stop by our place on the weekend and share some beer and a meal with us. He became a good friend to both of us, and we valued his opinion. He became more of a fixture in our house on the weekends as we all became closer. He dated Emily's sister for a while until she had to move to Los Angeles for a career-making job. He was distraught when she left and spent hours talking with Emily about her sister. They would be sitting at the kitchen table when I got back from racquetball on Saturdays. They would have been through half a bottle of Glenfiddich by that point. Emily would be holding his hand and stroking it, telling him she understood how sad it was that he had lost her sister. He and I would go to the Ridgeport Falcons games on Sundays. He had an inn to tickets on the 50-yard line, and we went to at least 5 or 6 home games during the season. As we drank beer at Murphy's Tavern after the game, he would tell me what a lucky man I was and that I should be thankful to have such a great wife. He hoped that someday he would meet someone like her. He would take Jacob to the zoo or to the park when I was too busy because of pressing work schedules at the office. He was like an uncle to my child. I occasionally had to travel as part of my job to various technical conferences. I was slated to go to one in Singapore in July. I had just returned from a conference in Toronto. It had been a strange experience, to say the least. When I arrived at the hotel in Toronto, I checked in, unpacked, and went to the bar to meet with my sponsor and his wife. We had a pleasant evening that included dinner in the hotel. After dinner, we had a late-night nightcap in the hotel bar, and my sponsor and his wife said their goodbyes there. I was finishing my nightcap when a rather beautiful woman who reminded me of Emily approached me at the table I was sitting at. "Hello," she said demurely. "I'm Kate. Do you mind if I sit down here for a few minutes? I just had a terrible fight with my boyfriend, and he left me standing in the lobby. I guess I will have to find my own way home tonight," she said with a trembling voice. I thought to myself what a coincidence it was to be in Toronto, many miles from home, and to meet an attractive woman who looked like my Emily and whose name was Kate. She moved to the chair next to mine and leaned in as if to share something privately. I leaned toward her to hear what she had to say. Suddenly, she placed one hand on my knee and the other on the back of my neck and kissed me. I was caught off guard and froze for a moment. Then I reached up to remove her arms from around my neck, accidentally brushing her shoulder in the process. After a few awkward moments, I managed to untangle myself. She looked at me with a smile and said, "That was nice. I didn't need a reason to do that." With a wink, she stood up and walked away. I was totally confused about what had just happened. Wait until I tell Emily about this. Wait a minute. Should I tell Emily that some unknown woman, who just happens to look like Emily, suddenly decided to kiss me and grab me? Maybe I should just be quiet about this and forget it ever happened. Yes, that is what I will do. Just forget it ever happened. And I did. One day, about 5 weeks later, in early June, Emily came home from the office and something was clearly bothering her. She was very quiet and seemed far away in her thoughts. I prodded her on several occasions to talk to me, but she just got defensive and said, "I've got some tough tasks at the office and they've got me concerned. I need to think through what I need to do, so please just let me think." She came home the next evening and announced that she had just been to the doctor. She had developed a bad uterine infection and was now on antibiotics. She announced that, for the foreseeable future, sex was out. I said that I understood, but hopefully, that did not mean that she couldn't give me some relief in other ways. Emily became angry at this point. She yelled at me, "You want me to blow you while I can't get any relief? You really are a pig. I'll not do anything as long as I can't get off too." Over the next 2 weeks, I saw her becoming more and more distant. I was so worried. I called Marcus and asked him if he knew what was wrong. "No, I honestly don't know. I have given her the toughest contract our firm has ever tackled, so she may be feeling the pressure. What say I take her to dinner tomorrow night and try to get her to open up to me?" I didn't hesitate to take him up on the offer. After all, he was like one of the family. The next day, around 3 p.m., I received a call from Emily. "Honey, Marcus has asked me to dinner to thank me for some of my efforts lately. Is it okay if I go?" "Sure, honey. Go ahead and enjoy yourself." "You earned it," I replied. "Thanks, sweetie. They'll be home by 10. With that, she hung up. It suddenly struck me that this was the first time since we were married that she did not end the conversation with "I love you." God, what is bugging her? I thought. Is she mad at me about something? I fed Jacob and put him to bed around 9 p.m. 10. Emily was not home. I worked on the presentation I had to give in Singapore. I only had 2 more days to get it ready. A little after 11 p.m., a car pulled up out front. I looked out of the front window and saw Marcus assisting Emily from his BMW. He had his arm wrapped around her waist, practically holding her up. Her blouse was pulled up slightly, revealing where he had been gripping her during the walk to the door. She was drunk. The doorbell rang. I opened the door. There was Emily, being held up by Marcus. She had too much to drink at dinner. I couldn't let her drive home, so I brought her here. She was a handful leaving the restaurant. I'm afraid the people there may have the wrong idea of things. Marcus gave me a weak smile, looking slightly uncomfortable. I knew she was getting drunk when she started slurring her words. When we were getting up to go, it became apparent that she could not walk on her own. So, I reached out to put an arm around her, and she grabbed me by the neck and planted a kiss on me. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I'm sorry, man. I don't know why she did that, but she kissed me for a long time and then said something about the goose and the gander. Marcus let her go, and she semi-fell into my arms. Emily looked at me with bloodshot eyes and mumbled, "Damn right, I kissed Marcus. And I liked it. He's a good kisser, better than you are. Let go of me, you asshole." With that, she pulled away from me and stumbled up the steps to the bedroom. Marcus and I just stood there, staring at her as she made her way up the stairs. What the hell was that all about? I asked incredulously. Marcus sighed. Well, it appears that she thinks you are not to be trusted anymore. And she isn't sure she even loves you anymore, Marcus said. She said at least 3 times during dinner that she thought you two should split up. It's only because of Jacob that she hasn't done anything about it so far. My stomach turned to ice. I don't know what has got her in such an uproar, but it's probably a good thing that you're going to Singapore shortly. Maybe a little time apart will help her get her head on straight. I was fuming inside. I'm going to talk with her and get this straight tonight, I said. No, don't do that. She's drunk. Talking with her tonight would be pointless. She's so mad at you, I don't think she will even listen to you right now, Marcus pointed out. Look, I think the world of you too. Tell you what, go ahead with your Singapore trip like nothing has happened. Give me until you get back to find out what has her so mad. So, for the next 2 days until you leave, just act as if everything is fine. In fact, act like you're looking forward to the trip. By the time you get back, I'll know what's wrong, and you can figure out how to fix it. Okay? I really had no alternative idea to offer. It seemed reasonable for Marcus to get to the bottom of Emily's attitude toward me. After all, she was talking to him but not to me at the moment. I agreed with Marcus, shook hands, and he left for the night. I tiptoed upstairs and stopped by the bedroom door. I heard my wife sniffling as if she had been crying. She was lying on her side, facing away from the door. I poked my head in and asked, "Are you okay, honey?" She rolled over and looked at me with the coldest, most loveless look I had ever seen. She did not reply. She simply rolled back over onto her side. I was at my wit's end trying to figure out what to do to get Emily to talk to me. Maybe Marcus was right. He could work on her and find out what the heck was wrong. Then I could fix whatever it was. The next morning, I decided that Marcus's idea was best. I acted like nothing had happened the night before. I was upbeat. Emily came downstairs, ready to go to work, and looked at me. "What are you so happy about?" she asked. "Oh, nothing. Things are going well at work, and this Singapore presentation is going to make my name known at the Institute." I looked at her and smiled. "You tied one on last night. Are you feeling okay this morning?" Emily looked away from me and stuttered, "I drank too much. Marcus was so sweet to take care of me like he did." Why can't you be as sweet as he is these days? A sharp pain stabbed into my chest. Emily, is there something wrong? Why are you mad at me? I don't want to go halfway around the world thinking you are mad at me. Emily looked at my face, sighed, and shook her head. No, Nathan, I don't have anything to say to you. Do you have something to say to me? I was now totally confused again. Had I done something to make Emily this way? What did she expect me to say to her? Why no, honey, I've got nothing to tell you. Do you think I should have something to tell you? I replied. Emily looked exasperated and almost yelled. Never mind. I should have known better. I was warned. With that, she took her purse and left for the office. I was becoming more concerned about our obvious communication breakdown. I was hoping that Marcus could find out what the story was and give me some idea of how to fix it. At noon, Emily phoned me. Nathan, Marcus is asking to take me to dinner again to talk about things, as he put it. I clenched my jaw. I told him yes. I'll be home around 10 or 11, Emily stated. This was not a request. It was a fact. She was going to dinner and would be home later. This was the first time she had not asked me if it was okay. She just assumed it would be, or didn't care if it wasn't. I again fed little Jacob and put him to bed. I packed my bag for the trip. The clock read 11:10 p.m. Emily still wasn't home. The phone rang at 11:30 p.m. Hello? I answered. Nathan, it's Marcus. Look, Emily got totally trashed again. She's so drunk. I don't think I can get her back in the car. We're at my place. I brought her here to try to get her straightened up before bringing her home. Look, it's okay with me if she just sleeps it off here. I don't think it would be a great idea for her to see you right now. My blood went cold. Marcus continued, she's so mad at you about something that she would probably say things that would be very hurtful in her present state. Marcus, look, they'll come over and pick her up. Nathan, that's really a bad idea. You don't know the names she called you tonight. She's so shit-faced she doesn't know what she's saying. She's very loud and belligerent. I think, for Jacob's sake, you should just let her sleep it off here. It would probably upset Jacob to see her like this. I hesitated. Something in my gut twisted. I didn't like this. But Marcus had a point. If Emily was that drunk, what good would it do for me to see her like that? I sighed. Okay, Marcus. Look, I have to leave tomorrow morning at 8, so I guess I won't be able to tell Emily goodbye. Please let her know that I love her. Marcus paused for a moment before replying. We will, buddy. Oh hey, I almost forgot. One of my old college pals is based in Singapore. I told him to look you up at the hotel and show you the sights. His name is Cole Matthews. He promised to show you a good time. So have a little fun and let me try to sort out what's going on here. Okay? I clenched my teeth. Something still felt off, but I couldn't place it. Marcus, I don't know how to thank you. That's what friends are for, he said smoothly. We hung up. I went to bed. The next morning, I flew to Singapore. It was a 16-hour trip from Washington, D.C. to Tokyo, then another 7 hours to Singapore. I checked into the Hilton Singapore, met my sponsor, and went straight to bed for almost 12 hours. Before falling asleep, I tried to call Emily to tell her I had arrived. No answer. It was 9 p.m. in Ridgeport. Where the hell was she? I left a message. Hey babe, I made it to Singapore safely. I love you. Call me when you get this. I woke up to the sound of the telephone ringing. Nathan. Buddy. It's Cole. How are you? His voice was warm, charismatic. Marcus told me you were in town. Well then, you're a friend of mine. Look, I promised Marcus I'd show you the town. When can you be ready to go? I rubbed the sleep from my eyes. Hey Cole. Well, my presentation is today at 3 p.m. Then I have a discussion panel tomorrow at noon. How about around 6 p.m. tonight? Perfect. I'll pick you up. We'll hit up one of Singapore's finest restaurants. He hung up. My presentation went flawlessly. I answered all the audience's questions and even received a standing ovation. I felt great, but I still hadn't heard from Emily. I called Marcus's voicemail. Marcus, it's Nathan. Look, I'm very worried. Emily hasn't replied to my calls. What's going on? Can you fill me in? I'm going out with your friend Cole in an hour, so try to call me around noon your time. That will be midnight here. Thanks for everything you're doing for Emily and me. I hung up. Cole arrived promptly at 6 p.m. He was a warm, funny guy, instantly likable. Let's start the evening at the Constellation Room. It's the finest bar in all of Singapore, he said with a grin. We arrived after a 15-minute cab ride. The place was incredible, overlooking the city skyline, with a stunning view of the cable cars running to Sentosa Island. Cole apparently knew everyone. The manager came out and personally showed us to a VIP table. Gentlemen, welcome, he said in perfect English. We were given a special refreshment drink. It was delicious. What's in this? I asked. Cole grinned. Gin, bitters, lime juice, and some special herbs. The waitress, a stunning young Asian woman, ensured our drinks were never empty. We had an amazing meal, but as the night wore on, things got fuzzy. I felt too good, lightheaded. I could barely remember what courses we had eaten. I also forgot my problems with Emily. By the time dessert arrived, I was not feeling any pain. Cole laughed. Come on, Nathan. Let's hit the next place. We got into another cab. I partially slept through the ride. When we arrived, I saw we were at what looked like an old plantation home. What is this place? I slurred. Relax, buddy. This is where we unwind, Cole said with a smirk. He rang the doorbell. A giant of a man answered. Mino, my friend. My buddy and I are here for some recreation. Can you tell Madame Zhao we'd like to discuss available talent? I blinked. Half a dozen scantily clad women lounged around the sitting room. A brothel. Panic rushed through my chest. Cole, I think we should leave. He laughed. He pulled out a small packet of white powder. Nathan, trust me. Take a whiff of this. It'll make you feel better. I hesitated. Then, without thinking, I did. Warmth flooded my body. I felt amazing. Cole handed me a flask. Drink this and you'll be a tiger. I took a big swig. Everything went black. I woke up in a strange bed. The smell of perfume and sweat was thick in the air. I was naked. Next to me, two women were asleep. One had her hand resting on my chest. The other had her head on my shoulder. I sat up, horrified. What the hell happened? Couldn't remember. The woman nearest to me stirred. She smiled. Good morning, Nathan, she purred. We had quite the night. You really let loose. My stomach dropped. I felt sick. Cole walked in, laughing. Hey, champ. Hell of a night. Huh? He pulled out his digital camera. Smile, buddy. You're on candid camera. He snapped dozens of pictures. I tried to cover myself, humiliated. Cole, what the fuck is this? I yelled. Cole smirked. Nathan, don't be mad. Marcus paid me. I froze. What? Oh yeah, buddy. Marcus set you up. He needed dirt on you. And now he's got it. My blood turned to ice. He's showing Emily those pictures right now. Cole grinned. And guess what? He's already screwed her. Twice. I gasped. Cole chuckled. In your bed, Nathan. While you were on this trip. I thought I was going to vomit. My marriage was over. And Marcus had one that I felt like I was going to throw up. My head pounded. My stomach churned. And my entire body went cold. Cole sat back in his chair, grinning. Yeah, man. You really got fucked over. And not just last night, either. Couldn't even breathe. You see, Marcus played this perfectly. First, he set up that little encounter in Toronto with Kate. You remember that kiss? That wasn't some random woman, Nathan. She was hired. Marcus made sure photos of that were sent straight to Emily. My heart stopped. That got the ball rolling. Emily got pissed. And guess who was there to comfort her? I could barely whisper. Marcus. Cole snapped his fingers. Bingo. Smart guy. And oh, did he play the long game. She fought it at first, but, women like Emily, they want to believe their husbands are faithful. But then, once Marcus started feeding her more evidence, she cracked. I swallowed hard. What do you mean, more evidence? Cole laughed. Oh, buddy, the pictures you just starred in aren't the first set Marcus has shown her. Nah, man. He had someone doctor up fake emails. Some messages that you supposedly sent. Messages about future trips and plans for another round in Singapore. He made sure she believed that you were a full-blown cheater. And you know, Emily, loyalty is everything to her. I gritted my teeth. So she just believed him? She didn't even talk to me? Cole shrugged. Man, she was crushed. You were already dead to her when you got on the plane to Singapore. She didn't give a fuck about you anymore. She spent that entire night in Marcus's arms. I wanted to kill him. You're lying. Cole grinned. Nah, man. I was there. She didn't even hesitate. That first night, she needed a lot of liquor to go through with it. But after that, oh, she was all in. The next day, she barely even thought about you. He fucked her in your bed every night until you left for Singapore. And last night, he fucked her again, buddy. I snapped. I lunged at Cole, grabbing him by the throat. You piece of shit. I roared. Cole laughed through his choking. What, mad because Marcus beat you? Because he fucked your wife? I tightened my grip. Cole wheeled back and punched me square in the jaw. I stumbled backward, hitting the side of the bed. He wiped his neck and smirked. Listen, man. Marcus is playing chess while you're playing checkers. He's already got you fired. He's got you divorced. And guess what else? He's even going after your kid. The world stopped. What? Oh yeah, buddy. Marcus is filing to adopt Jacob. Emily's gonna back him up. They're gonna erase you, Nathan. By the time you get back, your entire life is gonna be gone. I could feel rage boiling inside me. Cole laughed. Oh, and don't even think about fighting back. Because those pictures, they're already on their way to your boss. And if you try anything stupid, there's more than enough evidence to land you in jail. I was done. I had lost everything. When I got back to Ridgeport, it was exactly as Marcus had said. I was locked out of my house. All of my belongings were in a storage unit. I had been fired. Emily had filed for divorce. She had taken Jacob. I tried everything, tried calling, texting, emailing. Nothing. Every message went unanswered. Everything went through lawyers. I was erased. 2 months later, Emily was pregnant with Marcus's baby. I knew then he had one. I packed my bags and left Virginia. I moved to Seattle, as far away from that nightmare as I could get. And I drank. The next 5 years were a blur of whiskey, cheap apartments, and dead-end jobs. Couldn't hold a job. I couldn't hold a conversation without thinking about what was stolen from me. Marcus had destroyed my life. And Emily? She never looked back. Every birthday I sent Jacob a card. Every Christmas I sent a gift. Every single one came back unopened. I had lost everything. I had nothing. Until I met Juan. Juan was a former psychologist who had lost his license. We met in a rehab facility after I got arrested for public intoxication. He helped me see something I had forgotten. Your wife, she wasn't worth shit. But your son? That boy is worth everything. For the first time in years, I woke up. I quit drinking. I got my job back. And I started planning. Not for revenge. For justice. I arrived at Ridgeport Airport, my heart pounding. This was it. The moment Juan and I had planned for. I checked into the Westfield Hotel and opened the folders waiting for me. Marcus's business? Corrupt as hell. He had embezzled, bribed, stolen. And now, I had proof. Emily? She was cheating on Marcus. With Cole. Oh, the irony. And my son, Jacob? He was a great kid. Hardworking. Smart. And 100% my son. DNA test confirmed it. I smiled. Juan, my friend. Watch the plan go into action. The next morning, I met with my lawyer. We handed everything over to the FBI. Marcus was about to go down for fraud, bribery, and extortion. By 10 a.m., I walked into his law office. Marcus looked up, pale as a ghost. Nathan, what the fuck are you doing here? I grinned. Ending this, I dropped the folders on his desk. His hands shook as he opened them. What is this? Proof. Of everything. Of how you set me up. Of how you stole my wife. Of how you're about to lose everything. Marcus turned red. You son of a... Before he could finish, the police barged in. Marcus Vance, you're under arrest. As they dragged him away, he locked eyes with me. This isn't over. Nathan, I'll come back from this. I smiled. No, Marcus, you won't. Later that day, I knocked on Emily's door. She answered, stunned. Nathan? I held up a court order. Jacob is coming with me. Forever. Emily collapsed in tears. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I nodded. Yes, you were. And with that I walked away. With my son. With my justice. And with my life back.